I should have taken that left turn to Albuquerque.
All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Welcome to Fort Wayne for Peace. My name is Tim Tiernon. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace. We are going to have a panel discussion today of local peace activists who've been rallying since October 6th, October 6, 2002, to end the war in Iraq. I'd like to start out, this is Roger McNett to my left, Sheri Phillips, Robert Rouse, editor and publisher of Left of Centrist and the blog World Report, and Bruce Hall. And we have been rallying on the Allen County Courthouse Green on the first Saturday of every month from noon to 1 o'clock for many years here. And we'd like to invite everyone to join us in 2008 on that first Saturday to express our opposition to the war in Iraq and work for peace. I'd like to start out really our discussion with the definition of patriotism as it's commonly understood. It's support for war. And just wondered if anyone has a little bit of a different definition than that. What do you think, Roger?
Well, patriotism doesn't necessarily, I don't believe, have to deal with war. Patriotism can be being proud of your country, being proud of the accomplishments that have happened in your culture. Patriotism is important to preserve the character of a country, and it's the way we identify with each other. You mentioned war. When it comes to war, you usually have two sides, each being patriotic to their own country or to their own cause. Then patriotism doesn't determine who's right or who's wrong, because both sides are patriotic or are loyal to the cause that they're fighting for. So I think we have to be a little careful of patriotism. I remember when I was in high school, and we would go to pep sessions, and we would all cheer for our team to win the basketball or football game, and we had the best team, and we loved our team, and we all supported our team. And one day I thought to myself, I went to Southside High School.
So did I.
I thought the people at Northside are doing the exact same thing.
We were arch enemies at that time, yes.
Yes. So I think we have to be very careful of patriotism. I think it is appropriate, but I think we can't get carried away to the extent that we forget that the other side may equally feel patriotic, and it's not a good reason for war. And I just think that can be a problem.
I don't believe it actually should be about war.
I don't think so
Just
either.
in general. I believe it can be a passion for your country,
Right.
a feeling of fervor. And when you're feeling a fervor of passion for your country, that's patriotic. And if the government's doing the wrong thing and you're speaking out in dissent, I believe then that makes the anti-war effort or peace patriotic. Thomas Jefferson said, "The spirit of resistance to government is so valuable on certain occasions that I wish it to always be kept alive. It will often be exercised when wrong, but better so than not to be exercised at all." He said, "I like a little rebellion every now and then." And I think that's important, and I believe that's why I believe that peace and the anti-war movement is patriotic, because we're doing our service. We're being dissenters, and that's what's called upon. We can't everybody just be these level-headed robots following along. George W. Bush is right. There has to be a little bit of dissent.
I love my country. I was raised in Oregon, not too far from Crater Lake, one of the most beautiful lakes that you'd ever want to see anywhere. And the pine trees, the in the mountains out there are something that I really love. But people in other countries have lakes that are beautiful to them. The skies are as blue in Iraq as they are here. Being patriotic is a love of where you are, but should that translate into wanting to kill people who love where they are? I don't think so.
It is. It's a love and devotion to your country and the interests of your country. So what do you think, Sheri, on that? Isn't that amazing?
I think that patriotism, again, doesn't have to necessarily mean war. And one of the fun chants that we have had on some of our marches to Washington and Chicago and such is, peace is patriotic, war is idiotic. And I feel that that's kind of where we're at. I can't speak for wars in the past. I can't say that there is no war that will be justified in the future. But certainly in the current situation that we're in, the war that we're in is idiotic. But I really believe that patriotism has more to do with what you feel in your heart is best for your country and your homeland, wherever your homeland is. So obviously, if you're patriotic for one country and you're opposing someone in the same country, doesn't necessarily make you a terrorist and them a patriot. It doesn't have to be labeled, I think, because people from the same country have different ideas. I don't think you have to label one a patriot because you agree with them and the other person unpatriotic because you don't agree with their opinion. It comes down to moral issues, and that's how I feel.
Another point on being patriotic is honoring the Constitution, knowing what it says and believing in it. And the idea of freedom of speech is something that is patriotic to believe in freedom of speech because it's what our country's founded on. And when the government tries to squelch our freedom of speech by trying to regulate it, put us in a zone where we're not able to be seen, is anti-patriotic.
That is a good point. So I just wanted to ask everybody what they thought of our current level of military spending. It's just something that's just pretty much glossed over. It's just something, it's kind of an entitlement of the current administration to spend as much as they wish on the military.
It's getting ridiculous. I mean, out of the top 10 military spending nations around the world, right now the United States is spending approximately $335.7 billion a year. That's almost ridiculous, especially when you consider that the next 9 countries combined only add up to $248.8 billion.
We're spending more than the rest of the world combined. This actually occurred last year, where it's official.
You know, the scary part, Russia isn't even in the top 10 anymore.
No.
That might not be scary.
That's incredible.
It's out of control. And the sad part is we're spending a lot of it on offensive weapons. And
we call them defensive weapons,
Do
though.
we?
Oh, yeah. All you have to do is take your offensive weapon and call it a defensive weapon.
Is that what it is? I remember the old days when a shield was defensive and a sword was offensive, and I guess today a bullet is defensive.
And they're brave, too.
Well,
our bombs are brave.
Well, they're smart.
So Sheri is a nurse. What do you think? You think healthcare is fully funded in the United States, and we just really need to spend more money on national... they call it national defense, too. We could have a whole other discussion on that really we're falling into using those words. But basically, wars of aggression.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things about the whole idea of the war and just perpetuating it, and the ridiculous spending that taxpayers are putting out into something that we don't approve of or agree with. But not only so many other places we could be putting that money. Obviously, healthcare would be a wonderful place. But I even think of the veterans and the lack of benefits that are provided for the veterans. Whether it be, guaranteed that they have the equipment that they need while they're fighting, but also health care when they come home, or housing when they come home, or counseling, support for families. There are a lot of places that even if it has to stay in a military budget, then great, shift it the other way, though, and start helping our veterans here at home, help protect their families, their stability. People can't live on what the veterans, are living on. Healthcare for veterans is atrocious. People that can't afford their medications. As a nurse, I see that all the time. And I know the government has tried to put plans into place, but again, it just seems more like another corporation bonus, some way for them to get more tax breaks. The pharmaceutical companies are not hurting in any sense of the word. So I think that is one place that, why can't veterans have free medications? Certainly antipsychotics or anti-anxiety or antidepressants. There's so many ways that we could be helping them. But even the disaster relief, there's another place that has been horribly neglected, horribly wasteful. And there is a lot of money being just blown away that could be put to use in so many other places.
Well, tying together two of the points that you were making about, especially about veterans benefits and bonuses. A lot of our soldiers, when they enlist now, they're given these bonuses, these huge bonuses.
Oh, definitely.
And here recently, I'm hearing about guys going over to Iraq. They get a leg blown out from underneath them, and suddenly the government's saying, well, you know that $20,000 we gave you to sign up, we need that back because you didn't complete your side of the bargain. Wait a minute, I gave a leg for this country, and you're telling me I have to give you back that $20,000 that you gave me to enlist simply because I didn't make it through my 4 years? You know, I had a couple of months to go when I had to get my leg blown off, but, you know, if that's what you want, it makes no sense. Why are we treating our vets like that?
What do you think there, Bruce, on our level of military spending? I mean, again, that it's strange. You know, Canada seems to get by without anything near our per capita expenditures.
One of the things that scares me about the level of military spending is the fact that at some point we're going to have to pay back the money that we've been borrowing.
Well, now there's a thought.
This war has not been funded by money that we have. The government has gone deeply into debt in order to fund the war. At some point, that's going to have to be paid back somehow.
Or is Washington, D.C. going to be like an amusement park for China someday? I mean,
Well, it could be that we will lose the war economically by being owned by China.
yeah.
So people in the past, I oftentimes hear people who don't like tax and spend government. They hate tax and spend government, but
They used to be called Republicans.
it's okay. It's okay to be borrow and spend. I don't understand that.
How do we pay it back?
Borrow and spend. I don't know. It magically appears because everybody's employed in defense industries. I have no idea.
It's the war fairy.
Remember the good old days when our national debt was $5.7 trillion
Yeah.
at the start of the Bush administration. I think 9.1 now.
You know, we were talking the other day about war and whether it was obsolete now. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Definitely. That's one of the reasons I personally joined the peace movement is really, as a veteran, you realize the limits of military power. And I'm not a complete pacifist, but that especially 9/11, it did not have a military solution. And it's a slogan and a button, but that military solutions can be problems. And Iraq has definitely shown that to be true. It's an amazing situation when your only tool is a hammer and all your problems look like nails.
You know, I would have to go back, though. I think I would qualify that and say that offensive wars should be obsolete. I can see a
we
reason
maintain
for
a defensive military. I support that, definitely. And I long for those days. I long for the days when we would return to a defensive military, when our National Guard would do what they're supposed to do, be available for tornadoes and floods and
hurricanes.
Katrina. It can happen again. New Orleans is not safe. That's again that I really believe that if a Category 5 would hit this spring, they'd be underwater again. It really would. They're not prepared now.
I agree with the Dalai Lama. He said that war should be obsolete. And whether it's an offensive war or defensive war, if there are no offensive wars, there will be no need for a defensive war.
That is a very good point. It's much as semantics that we call our offense a defense and their defense an offense. It's really incredible to go to the border of a country, and this is the way wars start. You go to the border and you incite some kind of violence, and then you claim it's aggression. This is what every country has used for probably thousands of years, and definitely has been used by our country and other countries. In 1840s, we went over our established border with Mexico, brought American soldiers who were killed by outraged Mexicans, and we claimed that was Mexican aggression. There were large war rallies in the mid-1840s in Indianapolis, and really the group that now became the 293rd went down to Mexico and eventually took half of Mexico. So it's really, and then today we're seeing our boats go, there's Persians in the Persian Gulf.
Is that weird?
That is just so strange that there's Persians in the Persian Gulf, and they're outraged that our warships are there.
It's almost weird. It'd be like there being Vietnamese or something in the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of Vietnam. That would be strange too, wouldn't it?
It's strange that war could have started because of some kind of a whale or something. It was just underwater noises.
Yeah.
And so much death and destruction, millions of Southeast Asians and 58,000 of our people over. Could have been anything.
When I heard about the speedboats, though, they're in the Straits of Hormuz, the first thing that came
to my mind,
that's right, Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, I was like, oh no,
it's everywhere.
Not again.
This is how it's done. This is how Hitler did it. Not that we bear any resemblance, but that he actually made it appear that Poland attacked Germany, so that the German people at the end of World War II believed that they were defending the fatherland against Polish aggression. So this is the way it's done. This is in War Making 101.
I think it was a bright spot today when the Pentagon made the statement that they couldn't prove that the audio that they had spliced in with the video was at all related with the events that were happening at that time. So I think
anybody's been on the water. Robert's been in the Navy. So how was communication? If someone's in a boat and there's the engine of these boats is very loud. Anybody who's boated on the lakes of northern Indiana, it's questionable.
What got me? I don't know if anybody knows, but these were speedboats with outboard motors. I mean, and not these Gatling guns that they have on these ships could have ripped one of those boats apart just like that.
Right.
So to call these aggressive moves is absolutely ridiculous.
It could happen tomorrow, though, and there could be an incident that would throw us close to edge with war with Iran, a third country. And then this is another reason I think it's more important than ever to discuss peaceful alternatives.